I can't recall a time I've seen this much national media talking about the idea of an NBA superstar coming to Detroit. The Kevin Durant to Detroit trade discussion is heating up. I've seen every media outlet or every senior NBA analyst that I follow throw out fake trades for KD to Detroit. And whilst I tend to pride myself on, at least in terms of the videos I put out in the past and what I put out content wise on Pistons Jack, I try not to feed too much into the fake trade stuff, as fun as it is, because often I just don't think it's very realistic. And whilst I still am not sure how realistic Kevin Durant to the Pistons is, he it's hard to ignore all these analysts, all these podcasts, all these TV shows throwing out the idea of Kevin Durant to Detroit and how good that fit could be and how that could position the Pistons in a wide open East next season. Uh, from ESPN to Yahoo to Kevin O'Connor to Zach Lowe to Stephen A. Smith. There's even NBA, Sirius XFM radio. I think Brian Scalabrine and Frank Isola are talking about it. Uh, there hasn't been the only reporting that I could even assume the Pistons have been linked, though. In terms of true reporting, not fake trades, not uh, NBA analysts with big platforms talking about it, is when Shams recently, I want to say it was before game 3 or in between game 2 and 3 of the NBA Finals, said he listed the 4 to 5 teams that are in talks and are interested in Kevin Durant. I think it was like the Spurs, and a couple other teams. And then he also mentioned there's some wild card suitors. Now, that's the only reporting that I've seen that you could even potentially tie the Pistons to this. So before we get into some trades that I have seen online discussed that I think actually have an element of possibility, even if they are just fake trades, if we want to call them that. I think it is worth noting that I don't want to mislead anyone that Kevin Durant to the Pistons is a real high possibility right now. I do have a feeling like part of my just my gut. I could be so wrong here. Maybe they are one of those wild card teams. So that's why I'm discussing this. Before I get to these trades, my thoughts are, and one of these trades kind of got me thinking and got me excited for the potential of this KD trade is my thoughts are, I want the young core intact that we have. Now, to get Kevin Durant is going to be really hard to keep the likes of Ron Holland, Asar, Jalen Duran, Jaden Ivey, and Cade all together. It's almost going to be impossible. And I throw Isaiah Stewart in there. But there is a trade that I saw thrown out where that's possible. So I want to keep that young core together. So in my eyes, if you can keep that young core together and add KD, I think it's honestly a no-brainer. Now that the Suns probably aren't very interested in that package, but you know, I'm not going to absolutely rule it out. So I think adding Kevin Durant in this wide open East next year with the Celtics, who presumably won't be a title threat, I still think they'll be like feisty, but they won't be a title threat without Jason Tatum. The Knicks, you never know what can happen there. We saw how far the Pistons took them. The Bucks, we don't know what's happening with Giannis. The Pacers, they're legit. We know this. But really, the Pistons could realistically get into the top 4 with only some marginal moves, in my opinion, this offseason. Now, I know progression isn't always linear. There's a chance the Pistons could just stagnate this season because they are young. But just with how the East looks and how the trajectory I feel like our team is on, I think even if they just make some marginal moves this offseason, the top 4 is a thing. Now, if you throw Kevin Durant in there, think about those playoff games when the Pistons just couldn't get a bucket down the stretch. They lost their 3 home games by a combined 6 points. You don't think if they add Kevin Durant, even at 36, 37 years old, they're not winning bare minimum one of those games. And if they win another one, they win the series. So That's where my mind's at. I know KD's 37, but he's not your normal 36, 37-year-old. He's still a guy who's averaged 27 in back-to-back seasons, shot 50% from the field, 40% from three. He's played 70-something games and 60-something games in the past 2 seasons. So yes, he will get injured. He will miss 10 to 20 games, no matter what. That's what you're signing up for. But man, him with Cade, imagine, like, I love Tobias this season, the past season. I think he was exceptional. I was happy when they signed him, but KD is like one of the best bucket getters of all time, if not the best. So uh, that's where my mind's at, and that's why I'm like, well, I know they're young, I know the timelines don't work, but if you can keep the young core together and just give up a heap of picks, not a heap, but a fair few future picks, like, man, you don't know. We could like really be Eastern Conference Finals, NBA Finals. So anyway, let's get into these trades. I want to hear your just initial thoughts, and then we'll get your thoughts after the trades. But the first trade number one here, I've titled the most realistic. Now, this trade was via Kyle Metz on Twitter. He tweeted this one out. Kyle is exceptional with all Pistons. He's a salary cap guru. Apron 1, 2, first, second apron. I don't even fully understand this stuff here, but he is all across this stuff. He's like the Keith Smith of Pistons Twitter. He does realistic trades and is across this stuff. So this trade here, I've titled this, like I said, the most realistic. And that's because I think this is probably what it's going to take to get into the Kevin Durant conversations amongst what the Spurs can offer, amongst what the Rockets could offer. So Pistons, as you can see here, they acquire Kevin Durant. They send out Tobias Harris, who in pretty much a lot of these trade scenarios is going to be essential because of his $25 million. They send out Simone Fontecchio. They send out Ron Holland. And then they throw in 2 future first-round picks in 2027 and 2029. Now, for me, I would not do this. I would not do this. As much as I just gloated about it, there is a trade package here I really like in the next 2, but this one, I would not do this. But this is the most realistic to get. If you want to get in the conversations for KD, unless he says he wants to come here or for some reason the offers aren't as good on the table from other teams, which I highly doubt, this is probably what it's going to take. They're going to want a young player, and that's Ron. They're probably going to want Asar or Ivy, to be honest, maybe even JD, one of those guys. But I think if you send out Ron here, Fontecchio is kind of filler, but he's also a role player, and him and Tobias kind of fill that 4 position that the Suns, because they are keeping Booker, they're still going to want to be a competitive team with him there, and they get the 2 firsts. This is the most realistic. I wouldn't do this. You can swap out Ron with any young guy. I'm still not doing this. Because I think you can't afford to give up a potential starting wing in Ron, who knows how much better he could be, and two future firsts. That's too much for a 37-year-old. But I think this is the most realistic trade. So let me know if you would do this one. But I would not. Number 2, 3-team chaos. So I wanted to put this one in here because, as you can see here from Kyle, this trade here, the Pistons actually don't send out too much future draft capital, but you do send out an additional young guy in Jaden Ivey. So, as Kyle explained here, a scenario that is a little more palatable, but still iffy at best. Pistons get to keep Tobias and only send out 1 future first plus some seconds. Would still have the non-taxpayers mid-level to get one of Laravia, Naz Reid, or Bobby Portis. He throws out the potential 10-man rotation of Cade, Asar, KD, Tobias, Durant, Schroeder, Bees, one of Laravia, Portis, or potentially Naz Reid if for some reason he comes in at the non-taxpayer, and Isaiah Stewart. I really don't want to give up Jaden Ivey, but this is a team that probably is Eastern Conference Finals bound. That should be the baseline for this team and next season. Just for next season, while the Celtics are still all over the place, this is more of a veteran team. You've got Schroeder, you've got Beasley, you've got Tobias. They're all around the mark of 30 years old or older. You've obviously got KD. You still have, though, your 3 young guys in Cade, Asar, and Durant. So, and you don't give out too many future firsts. So I think a lot of people might like this one as well, even though I think 3-team trades are hard to pull off. The Suns still pretty much get a similar package. They get Brooklyn's first rounder this season, a future first from the Pistons, and a second. So there's still some incentive there for them, although they don't get as much back in terms of players ready to go for the upcoming season, but they get salary cap relief significantly, as you can see, which is something they're interested in. Once again, sending out Ivy, Holland, and a future first is too much for me, but I do think that team would be very interesting, at least for 1 to 2 seasons. I can't lie. But I would still say no. I still, after what I saw this young core do in the playoffs, I still just want another season. Maybe this will annoy fans, but I still want another season to see this Cade and Ivy backcourt, because that team, as interesting as the one Kyle has proposed there would be next season, the season after, your timeline is way shorter. And maybe the lesson in all of this is that we get too obsessed with having this long 5-year window. And to be honest, a lot of the time they don't eventuate. But for me, I still want to see Cade and Ivy. Now, this is the trade. Trade number 3 here. Keep young core plus KD. This is the one that got me interested from Kevin O'Connor. And I'm not even 100% sure it is able to be pulled off, but this is probably the reason I've ended up making this video and started to get excited about a potential move of KD to Detroit. And it is because Kevin put this out on the Kevin O'Connor show. Basically, he said, you waive a bunch of cap holds, THJ and Dennis Schroeder. You keep Malik Beasley, so you'd sign him back with the mid-level. You trade Tobias Harris-Fontecchio and some number of firsts. You're probably at least giving away 2. And you go get Kevin Durant. If this trade is financially possible to pull off, I can't lie, I'm intrigued. So basically, you are still, like I said, if this is financially possible, if this trade were to go through, I would be over the moon. I can't lie. I can't lie. I think you keep Malik. This seems too good to be true, but it's like at the same time, is like, this is, if you get Kevin Durant for this quote unquote cheap, I would do it. Basically, you're bringing back all of your young core, those 5 guys I mentioned off the top. You're like all your lottery picks. You get more time to see them, but instead of Tobias Harris at the 4, you've got Kevin Durant. Now, Tobias, where I will give Tobias credit, the things I think he's a lot better at than Kevin Durant is probably going to give you more games. He's more durable, and he's also probably a better rebounder. But, I mean, everything else goes to KD. And even at the age of 37, it's not even close. Like the shot making, and it's not even really fair to compare the two because KD's KD. So, like, for me, you would then fill the roster out with vet minimums. If you got your 6-man in Bs, you would start Cade, Ivy, Asar, KD, Durant. Your bench is Beasley. You're probably gonna lean into Marcus Sasa. Probably going to have Stu and Ron Holland is probably a 9-man rotation. Maybe you get some vet minimum and you can get another wing. I'm sure you will. If you got Kevin Durant, players will come. So those are 3 trades. Like I said, trade number 1's the most realistic, but I thought I'd mix it up with some different trades here that I've seen online. I'm still like in the camp of like, this probably isn't happening, but I've made the video because there is a real possibility that Kevin Durant, the trade package that the Suns get back, is going to be underwhelming. And I think that opens a door for the team like the Pistons to sneak in and potentially get Kevin Durant, and your windows immediately open in the East, in my opinion, I think. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm sure this will be very controversial. I'm sure some people disagree with me, but I'd love to know, is there a specific trade package here? The 3 I've posted, is there any you've seen online? Feel free to put in the comments. Let's get the discussion going. But I'll keep you posted with any other trade news and rumors over here at Pistons Jack. But thank you so much for watching. And as always, go Pistons.